What if I told you that David Lee Roth, the wild frontman who defined rock and roll excess, spent decades hiding grudges that could fill an entire arena? Behind the smiles, the high kicks, and the rhinestone jackets, Roth had a darker side, one that held deep resentment for certain artists who, in his eyes, never truly got what rock and roll was supposed to be about. This isn't just about petty rivalries or ego battles. It's about betrayal, jealousy, creative theft, and the pain of watching an entire generation try and fail to capture what Roth and Van Halen built from nothing. Today on Legend Uncovered, we're peeling back the curtain on the 5 artists David Lee Roth secretly hated and the shocking stories behind each one. Stay tuned, because the final name on this list will leave your jaw on the floor.
Number 5. Axl Rose. The feud between David Lee Roth and Axl Rose is pure rock mythology. 2 egos, 2 frontmen, 2 explosive personalities, and one shared stage that could never exist. When Guns N' Roses burst onto the scene in the late 80s, many critics hailed them as the new Van Halen. That alone set Roth off. According to insiders, Roth couldn't stand being compared to Axl. He saw him as an imitator, a pretender who borrowed Van Halen's swagger but replaced its fun with fury. Roth once told a journalist privately that Axl's got the anger but not the joy. That's why he'll never last. Behind the scenes, Axl fired back. He reportedly called Roth Vegas in leather pants, mocking his flashy image and claiming he was more showman than musician. The tension only deepened when both men were considered for the same high-profile collaborations, and Roth lost out more than once. In public, both played it cool, but offstage, their mutual disdain was the stuff of rock legend. Number 4. Eddie Van Halen. Yes, really. Now, you can't talk about David Lee Roth's hatreds without mentioning Eddie Van Halen. Their relationship defined one of rock's greatest bands and its most painful breakup. What began as creative tension quickly spiraled into open warfare. Eddie was a perfectionist. Roth was a showman. Eddie wanted musical evolution, keyboards, complex arrangements, precision. Roth wanted the rawness, the flash, the attitude that made Van Halen a movement, not just a band. By 1985, the tension had reached a breaking point. Roth's departure wasn't just a career shift, it was a full-blown divorce. He later told friends that Eddie had forgotten what rock feels like, accusing him of chasing pop trends instead of sticking to Van Halen's rebellious roots. Eddie fired back in interviews, calling Roth impossible to work with and an actor playing a rock star. For years, fans hoped for reconciliation, but every reunion attempt collapsed under the weight of old wounds. Even in later interviews, Roth's tone softened but never healed. He once said, "I love the man, I just never liked him." That says it all. Number 3. Sammy Hagar. It's almost poetic. The man who replaced Roth in Van Halen also became one of his most despised rivals. The rivalry between David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar is one of rock's most public, longest-running feuds. And unlike most, this one never really ended. When Van Halen recruited Hagar in 1985, Roth felt betrayed, not just by the band, but by the fans who embraced the new version of Van Halen. He dismissed Hagar as Van Halen Light, claiming he lacked the charisma and edge that made the band dangerous in the first place. Hagar, never one to stay quiet, fired back, calling Roth a clown living in the past. The feud reached absurd heights when both launched solo tours at the same time, dubbed the Heavyweight Champions of Rock Tour. They traded insults on stage, through interviews, and even in song lyrics. But beneath the bravado, Roth's hatred stemmed from something deeper: fear. Fear that his band had moved on without him and that Hagar had stolen the family he built. Number 2. Gene Simmons. Long before Van Halen conquered the world, Gene Simmons from Kiss played a small but crucial role in their rise. He discovered them early, funded their first demo, and even pitched them to record labels. But when Gene decided not to sign them, Roth never forgot it. For years, Roth believed Simmons had used Van Halen's early work to inspire Kiss's next moves, especially their late 70s material. He reportedly accused Gene of stealing the blueprint for arena rock while leaving Van Halen to fend for themselves. Their paths crossed again in the 80s, and things didn't go well. Simmons, ever the businessman, criticized Roth's solo act as too self-indulgent. Roth retaliated by calling Kiss a circus without the music. The irony? Both men were larger-than-life performers who thrived on ego, spectacle, and excess. Maybe that's why they couldn't stand each other. Number 1. Bon Jovi. And now we reach the name no one saw coming. John Bon Jovi. In the mid-80s, when hair metal ruled MTV, Bon Jovi's rise was meteoric. Their polished image and arena-ready anthems took the world by storm. But for David Lee Roth, they represented everything wrong with modern rock. He saw Bon Jovi as the commercialization of rebellion, a safe version of the danger he and Van Halen had embodied a decade earlier. In interviews, Roth mocked their clean image, saying, "Rock should smell like whiskey and sweat, not shampoo." Ouch. Industry insiders recall that Roth refused to share festival lineups with Bon Jovi, claiming their audience wasn't rock, it was prom night. Bon Jovi, for his part, brushed it off with class, saying he respected Van Halen's influence, but had no time for drama. Still, behind closed doors, Roth's resentment lingered. Watching Bon Jovi become a global sensation while his own career cooled off in the late 80s, it stung. Even decades later, Roth reportedly joked that Bon Jovi made rock safe for accountants. Classic Diamond Dave, always with a smile, but never without a sting.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.